What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream. Okay, we good. Yeah, first of all, sorry I was a little bit late. My baby was doing baby stuff. Infants, what can I say? Hold on, let me get what's going on with my chair right now? What's happening? My screen sometimes green and sometimes it ain't green. Figure out what's going on. Is it this side? Okay, let me adjust it. Look, man, I'm one man band man. I'm trying working it out as best as I can. Goddamn. All right. What's going on? What's going on? Ake. I hope I pronounced that right. What's going on? Super Gringo from Charlotte. What's going on, man? NC in the house. JR Jr., who said the JR does not actually stand for Junior. The verdict is still out on that. The jury's still on that. Sophia 44. Bom dia. Bom dia, tudo bem? We are live right now on all platforms. Rockfin, YouTube, Twitter. Rockfin, YouTube, Twitter. Fuck, I'm missing one. Rumble. Yeah. Oh, man. Speaking of Rumble, real quick before we get started. Why? Yeah, I've been lying to y'all for like 2 weeks saying that my link for Rumble was in the description because I thought I included it with all the links in my description. And y'all just didn't say nothing. Y'all just gonna let me look like a liar in front of my whole audience. All the new people think I'm stupid because there ain't no link. There was no Rumble link. I just put it in. Y'all messed up for that, yo. I'm letting y'all know that. There's a Rumble link now, but there wasn't one before. I sure your comment was deleted. Your comment where? On YouTube? I actually don't delete comments, so I don't know where, unless it's like something that could get me personally in trouble. But yeah, I don't delete comments. So if it was deleted, it was not deleted by me. Or sometimes, even though I actually don't have my YouTube settings to flag comments, YouTube doesn't really care about what I want. They'll flag comments anyway if they think it's offensive, even if you don't have that setting turned on. Oh no. Oh, so if you just commented something, there was something that just glitched like for like 5 seconds. So if you just commented something and it disappeared, it probably wasn't like on purpose. It was like a glitch. It was probably something with my streaming software, my internet. But we all good. We all good. Sophia said she typed my Rumble in the browser and found me there anyway. That's a supporter. That is a supporter right there. I appreciate that. And y'all know when I have to do, y'all know when I'm streaming on Rumble. I stream on Rumble basically every time I do a live stream. And just to let y'all know, it ain't easy because I live in Brazil. And y'all know the beef that Rumble in Brazil have right now. So it's actually extra work for me to go over there and stream on Rumble every day. Got my coffee today. So y'all know what type of day it's going to be. I know we're early. But I had to. Couldn't wait, man. Couldn't do it. Was going to wait to stream a little bit later. I had some stuff that I was looking at last night that had taken place. I woke up I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so pissed about not only what I saw taking place at the University of Texas, some of the responses to that situation, and then also response to the situation in New York, like Twitter. I woke up, I couldn't even sleep. I was so damn mad, boy. I almost got up at 5 a.m. real time, which is like 4 a.m. Eastern time, and just started going crazy because I was so pissed. I'm like, y'all hypocritical traitors. They know, damn the class traitor. Like, yeah, y'all class traitors, but that's like, what's new? Class traitors are class traitors, and we're kind of familiar with those. This is like, no, y'all are traitors for real. Y'all are traitors to your nation. This is not going to be one of those streams. Yeah, I might be a little bit happy because I'm trying to keep it positive, but like, it ain't gonna be one of those streams. It's gonna be one of those. You might want to keep your television screen down if you're listening in your vehicle. You might want to turn your radio down because I'm probably it's gonna be one of those Niko rants today. I ain't gonna lie to you. We got some stuff that I pulled up from last night that I saved, and I'm also going to try to see some of the updates in real time before we go. So, because I know like a lot of stuff is changing, because this stuff literally just happened yesterday, a lot of it. So y'all rock with me. Sophia, Sophia, you're Brazilian, but you live in the UK. You know, that's crazy. So, random aside, there's a lot of British nationals who moved to Brazil. I don't know why that's such a thing. Like, I'm talking about British nationals that actually moved to Brazil and speak Portuguese. There's also there's a lot of Brazilians that moved to England as well. But specifically, I've met several that mostly live in Sao Paulo who are from Great Britain. They moved to Brazil and they speak Portuguese, and I have no idea what that's about. I can explain the phenomena from Brazil to the United States because, fun fact, so whenever you achieved middle classdom in Brazil, you knew that you had like moved on up like the Jeffersons if you could afford a trip to Disney World. That was like the thing. It's funny, my neighbor literally 2-3 days ago was like, man, you know, my dream is to go to Disney World. I said, of course it is. He's a lawyer, but he was like, yeah, man, that's my dream, is to go to Disney World. But the reason why, if you've ever been to Orlando, hell, if you've ever been to Disney World recently, you'll hear a lot of Portuguese, and you'll see like a lot of Brazilian restaurants, and you'll meet a lot of Brazilians because that was the very first place the majority of Brazilians that visited the United States went to. And apparently they loved Disney World so much, they just never left. Or they have family there still, or they had family when they decided to visit for the first time and decided to stay with the family. Like, so you'll find that like the majority of Brazilians in the United States actually live in Orlando, and specifically around the Disney World part. It's funny, actually. So yeah, I remember the first time I went to Orlando as an adult, not Orlando, but went to Disney World or Universal. I went to Universal as an adult, and I'm like listening. I'm like, what the hell? That is not Spanish. Is that Portuguese? That's weird. Why the hell are there so many Portuguese speakers here? Like, and this is before I visited Brazil, and I didn't know like the dynamics of Brazilians in Orlando. I just thought that they were from Portugal, because I didn't recognize the dialect, because the only Portuguese that I had heard at that point was from Rio. And if you know, big difference between Rio Portuguese and Sao Paulo Portuguese. Basically, everybody in Sao Paulo thinks that they're in a Disney movie. So like, for most of y'all know the phrase "tudo bem, tudo bom." So whenever you see somebody in Rio and you say, hey, good morning, hey, tudo bom, or tudo bem, they say tudo bom, tudo certo, something like that, right? Nah, that's not Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, they go, oi, bom dia, tudo bem, tudo bom, tudo certo, como tá sua família? Bro, they singing every single note. The first time I visited Sao Paulo, I was like, hey man, hold up. How come I didn't get an invite to the musical? Maybe I wanted to be a part of this new Broadway show that y'all putting together. I was so confused, and I thought that everybody was going to talk like that. And then when I moved to Rio, I was like, hold on, y'all don't talk nothing like Sao Paulo. I can't understand a damn word y'all are saying. What the hell's going on here? And then I found out like the dialects are completely different. There's a reason that Rio has their own different categorization. They have their own different category of Portuguese called Carioca. And there's a reason for it, I promise you. Also, there's a reason that they women got a different category. They fit in a different category too. Not, you got Brazilian women and you got Cariocas, and they not the same. I'm telling you. My woman, Carioca, technically. Anyway, let's do some shout outs and get this show on the road. I think we got a lot of people in. We got 174 total people watching across all platforms. Like I said, make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share this video. We got David Martin in the house. What's going on? We got Sentient Dreamer back in the house. Sophia said, oh, that's cool. You said, so your stepdad was British and you're from Sao Paulo. That's cool. Yeah, so my stepson is Brazilian and my son's obviously Brazilian. But yeah, at the moment, I'm actually teaching my stepson Portuguese. I mean, English, not Portuguese. Well, yeah, Portuguese too, because he's only 6. But sure, I was watching Medhurst saying dual passport of Israel are leaving isn't real when Iran was bombed. Yes, They've been doing that, actually. They've been leaving. Y'all seen those videos with the airports? Leaving in droves. In droves. I'm like, that's so crazy because you got Palestinians who know they're about to be bombed, bro. They know their homes were destroyed, dismantled, obliterated. They know when they go back, there's a chance they could be bombed or even like more cold-blooded, just sniped down. They know this is going to happen and they want to go back home anyway because that is what they're willing to give their lives for their homeland. And these Israelis, these indigenous Israelis are trying to convince people that this is their homeland, their promised land. And the moment they actually got to put some blood on the ground for it, they're like, hey, man, so you said I can make that in payments, right? I can use, what is it? What's that program they got? Not a Surion. Surion has a insurance company. What is that damn program they got where you can make the payments on 4 payments? And like you said I can make it in 4 payments, right? Because you know them tickets kind of crazy right now with everybody getting bombed. All right, so I'm gonna need 4 tickets up out of here. But just don't tell nobody that I left though. It's like whatever COVID happened when everybody was like talking all that shit in California, and then everybody left California to come to Florida. It was like that. Yeah, y'all not even willing to stay and fight for your homeland, but you talking about that's your homeland and you're indigenous. Those Palestinians are willing to put blood on the line. Their children are fully aware of what it means to remain in Palestine. They're still there. I know. I personally know Palestinians. I lived in North Carolina for a long time. Graduated from the University of North Carolina. If you know the area, Raleigh, Durham, the Research Triangle Park area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, bunch of Palestinians actually. Unfortunately, that huge, it was super sad situation when those 3 Palestinians died because that psychopathic, racist piece of shit killed them in a parking lot. I was actually at UNC when that happened, but there are a lot of Palestinian college students like they wanted to be back in Palestine. Their parents basically at the time wouldn't allow them to go back, but they wanted to move to Gaza. They wanted to go back. They wanted to get their medical degrees at UNC or Duke, or get their engineering degree at North Carolina State University and go back and rebuild and do free dentistry and do free medical. And their parents were like not letting them, you know, because their parents wanted to protect them. Not, you know, it wasn't, they were trying to protect their kids like parents should do. But like these people are willing to die for their homeland. Israelis, the moment they hear some ruckus, because it's all well and good when you're blowing up people from afar, right? That's what they do. They blow up people from afar and they cheer it on. But the moment that you hear boom at your doorstep, now maybe if you're from New York back in the day, you know, from the Bronx, from Chicago, you're like, oh, it's another day outside. But they're not used to that. They're used to committing a genocide from afar. But the moment there can be any potential consequence up close, they're out. Crazy, bro. Sophia said Portuguese from Portugal is like another language. Yes, it is. And some of the words that they use in Portuguese from Portugal are like basically they're like the palavrão in Brazil. Like cuss words, basically. It's really funny. But yeah. Somebody thought, let me tell y'all some racist shit before we get started. Now that we got everybody here. I'm gonna tell you it's some racist shit, yo. It is some racist shit. So I was in the Uber, right? Talking to my girl, and this Uber driver was like kind of confused because, so I don't know if y'all are aware of this. There are basically no Black Americans who speak Portuguese. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just, it's a very difficult language to learn unless you're in Brazil. And even if you're in Brazil, generally what you encounter are Brazilian, if you're a man, for example, it's a Brazilian man, or excuse me, a Brazilian woman who is already trying to learn English. So the Brazilian man very rarely is speaking fluently to, like, if you're an American man, it's very rare that you're speaking fluent Portuguese with a Brazilian woman. It almost never happens. And usually if it does happen, it's like some white boy who was like a graduate student and like Portuguese was their major, and like that they made a Brazilian while they were down here in school. And like, so it's like there's a very stereotypical bubble. It's not a bad thing, but it's just this reality. And Black people, Black men specifically, have trouble, especially if you come from like a colloquial background of the South, Deep South, or New York. That's like you're changing personalities effectively to speak Portuguese. It's very difficult. So there's like no black people, black men specifically from the US that speak Portuguese. It's not a thing. So and if they do speak it, it's the most like, I always make fun, like, I always like, how do y'all expect me to talk? Oi, tudo bem? Hi. Or they, oh, hola, o meu nome é Niko. Like, it's like kind of like that, because like, how can you emulate an accent that complicated? So whenever I'm speaking, they're like, hold up, I don't know where you're from, but you're not from here. But also your accent doesn't sound like you aren't Brazilian. So this man said, he said, hey man, you from Rio? I said, no, man, I'm not from Rio. He said, you from Angola? I said, what? Angola? That's a really weird place to go straight to. He's like, oh, like, you from Mozambique? I was like, for real, bro? So you go straight to 2 African countries. Why can't I be from Portugal? Huh? Why can't I be from Europe? Why can't I be from America? It was funny because I knew, like, he wasn't trying to be racist or anything like that, but it was funny because I always mess with them because I know, like, it's very, 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 very strange to hear a Black American speaking Brazilian Portuguese. Like I said, it just doesn't happen. And so I'm sure, like, when I'm pronouncing certain words, because of maybe who I heard it from or where I heard it from, it doesn't sound the same to them. And so they're like confused. If I was, put it like this, if I was Japanese or Korean or Chinese, it would be less weird to speak fluent Portuguese. It would be less weird. So it's just funny story. Now that we got all the funny stuff out the way, try to keep it light, but it's about to get heavy. People need to figure out people need to figure out, are you American or are you not? Are you pro-Constitution or are you not? Are you First Amendment or are you not? Are you a free speech absolutist or are you not? Because y'all know my stance. Well, maybe you don't. If you're new here, maybe you don't. But if you've been here for a while, you know my stance. I'm a free speech absolutist. And I mean that to the core of my soul. Probably because of the way I was raised, probably because of the way I grew up. But I believe firmly in my heart and soul, you can say whatever the hell you feel like saying. Because I have no fear in my heart that if you're wrong, that I can't counter you. I know I can counter whatever you say with logic. And if I am wrong, then I just learned something new. And there's never anything wrong with that. The only time that you want to shut down free speech, the only time that you want to shut down freedom of expression, the only time that you want to, and I'm not, damn the Constitution, as a principle, as a moral principle, I don't even need the Constitution. I would still be a free speech absolutist. Because the only time you want to shut it down is because you're scared. Is because you fear the result of this speech, because you fear the result of expression. And we know the US government is scared of its own shadow. And that shadow just so happens to be the Star of David with Bibi Netanyahu carrying it. Hey, don't forget who's paying your bills. Don't forget who's paying your bills. Don't forget who got videotape of you. Don't forget who's been looking up your search history. And what we've seen, yeah, Columbia University was pretty crazy. But what we've seen at the University of Texas yesterday, what we saw was absolutely insane. Insane. Because pro-Palestinian protesters decided to protest, which is legal. I don't know if y'all know this. It's legal to protest. They decided to leave class at the University of Texas. And whereas I've been in college, I've been to an elite university. In a normal situation, you might get in trouble by your professor, okay? Which is like, Okay, you know, it's kind of like that's the cost of doing business when you decide to fight for a cause. Hell, normal situation, you might even get in trouble by your dean because you might be disrupting campus activities. You're not doing anything illegal technically, but skipping class is kind of a problem. But at UNC, hey, shit, you can skip class if you want to. You paying the bill. So it is what it is. But disrupting campus activity, you might get in trouble by them for that. What I have never seen in the history, the entire time I was at University of North Carolina, and y'all have to remember, while I was at Tar Heel Nation, by the way, we need to get our basketball act together, and I hope that Drake May succeeds in the NFL. Let's go ahead and get that out the way. Tar Heel Nation. But the entire time I was there, y'all have to remember the time period for those of you who might be new here. During the time I was at UNC was the 2016 election. So I was there 2014, 2015, 2016. I was there when the entire world was mourning the deaths of those 3 Palestinians that were killed in cold blood. When we had a massive, massive protest and a massive vigil for them, okay? I was the president of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Bernie Sanders chapter, when he was running for president, okay? I was the I was the state director for Bernie Sanders' campaign in 2016 while I was at UNC. I was there for clashes between Bernie people and Hillary people, Bernie people and conservatives. I was there for the Moral Monday marches with Reverend Barber that were on Franklin Street, other places too, but on Franklin Street and other places. I've seen people do walkouts. Never, like, you might have had a problem with your professor, you might have had a problem with your dean. We never really had a problem with the chancellor, but that was where it stopped. But what we have now is the police state getting involved in campus protests. Let's check out this article real quick. Horse riding troopers squash anti-Israel protests at University of Texas that was inspired by Columbia. First of all, I absolutely resent that framing. That was done on purpose. We know that was done on purpose. Why? Because it's a pro-Palestine protest. Yeah, it's anti-Israel, but is it anti-Israel because you don't want dead Palestinian kids? No, that's not anti-Israel. That's pro-Palestine. But that framing was done on purpose. I saw somebody say KU in the comment section. Nah, we ain't with that. Roy made his choice. Y'all need to get over it. He got you y'all ring. Be happy y'all got it, but when Dean Smith took his leave of absence and, retired, we had to get our guy back. So sorry for you. Back to this. So let me zoom it in for those of you with vision impairments like myself. An anti-Israel protest at the University of Texas at Austin, inspired by Columbia University encampment, was quickly crushed before it started by Texas state troopers on horseback Wednesday, with 3 demonstrators arrested. Oh, that number has changed, by the way. The university had warned the Palestine Solidarity Committee, which encouraged the students to protest on campus, that the event was unauthorized. It would not be allowed to proceed as planned. Oh, well, that just makes everything okay, huh, people? Well, as long as you warn them, that their First Amendment rights don't apply. What? I hate when somebody hits me with this bullet. That protest was unauthorized. Sir, I don't think you know what the hell a protest is. I don't think you actually know the point of the First Amendment. I hate the idea that people, well, you didn't get your permit. Hey, man, I'm sure that whenever the Boston Tea Party happened, they was like, yeah, man. I mean, obviously, this is before the Constitution, but like whenever they were like, yeah, man, really quick. Did y'all make sure to fill out all the paperwork? Did y'all fill out the form 22-3A for chamomile tea? But did you make sure to also fill out the separate supplementary form 22-3B because there was some guarana, like, and also some black tea in there too. So I just want to make sure that we cover all our bases before we throw this shit overboard. No, that's not how protests work. That was not the point of the First Amendment at all. The point of protest was to disturb the peace. Because when you disturb the peace, the government pays attention. The government pays attention, conversations get started. Because usually, unfortunately, when the government pays attention, there's a violent response, and then you have to answer why. The conversations get started, revolution follows. And when a revolution is necessary, that's when change happens. That's why the First Amendment was created. For all of the faults of the founding fathers, and there were many, you got to give them credit. Because they're like, man, let's at least put mechanisms in place that can cover down for our screw-ups as human beings. To challenge the power that they didn't give it to themselves, technically speaking, but to challenge the power that may be consolidated and corrupted. So I'm so sorry. Y'all didn't get permission. Y'all didn't give them permission. So they were supposed to do what? They were supposed to ignore the genocide all of a sudden because they didn't get permission? Crazy. I don't think students were expecting this kind of response. No, they weren't. I can almost guarantee it. Amelia Kimball, associate managing editor at student newspaper The Daily Texan, told CNN. Here's some of the pictures. Oh, I'm gonna show y'all the videos. This was, give me a second. I'm gonna show y'all this article. They framed it probably more accurately. Live updates from UT Austin students hold pro-Palestine protests. At least 50 people arrested. More than 50 people were arrested at a peaceful pro-Palestine protest Wednesday at the University of Texas, hosted by the Palestine Solidarity Committee, a registered student group and a chapter of the National Students for Justice in Palestine, which held a rally to call for an end to the Israel-Hamas war. I don't like that framing. It calls for end to the genocide that Israel doing. It's not an Israel-Hamas war. It's Israel trying to destroy a bunch of innocent people and Hamas doing its best to basically mitigate the circumstances. I don't like the framing of it because that, like, no offense, as much as I would like to believe Hamas could single-handedly take out Israel, that's just not possible because, one, they're not just fighting Israel. We know for a fact that U.S. Special Forces is there. Like, it ain't just Israel, and you don't have the weapon capacity to keep up. So it's calling it a war insinuates that both sides stand an equal chance of winning, and that's just unfortunately not the case. As good as they may be doing as of holding off and staving off the genocide, at the end of the day, the entire Western world is giving unlimited funding to Israel, and there's only so much they can do. So it's not a war; it's a genocide. And just because you're being genocided doesn't mean you're going to like allow it to happen. It says the Palestine Solidarity Committee planned the protests in solidarity with students across the United States who have been demanding their universities to divest from Israeli businesses and for the federal government to stop backing Israel's military, as more than 30,000 people have died in Gaza amid the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. About 54 people were being held at the Travis County Jail in relation to the protests, according to George Lobb, an attorney with the Austin Lawyers Guild, who was assisting people who had been arrested. Good on him. Shout out to that guy. Boy, we need more. That's the type of, class solidarity. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes your role ain't to protest. Sometimes it's to use I said it yesterday. There was a TikTok that was talking about the fact, and we're going to address that in this next clip, but there was a girl on TikTok talking about the fact that the reason that there's such a big deal of what's happening in Colombia and why they're making such a big deal about it. Somebody said it was funded by somebody. I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense to fund a big protest like this. Like this, it was weird. I don't know why she said it, edgelords, I guess, but trying to insinuate that it was funded by some globalists. Like, nah, bro, it ain't funded by no globalists. eventually you get pissed off. And also, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a part of me that does believe that there's just a bunch of people trying to get out of class because it's close to finals and they don't want to be in class. They would rather be studying and doing anything else but being in class. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that does, as a former college student, that be I know the stress. So anything to distract you from the stress is probably likely going to happen. But in all seriousness, they were saying like they was funded. I'm like, no, this isn't funded. Those students are the future leaders of America, people. Ilhan Omar's daughter was kicked out, suspended from Columbia University and kicked out of her dorm. These are children of mayors, governors, congresspeople, CEOs, board members, consultants, Wall Street bigwigs, the quote unquote future leaders of America. And they have decided we will not only will we not entertain your Zionism, not only will we not support your Zionism, we will actively use our privilege and our faces and our last names to shut down your Zionism, to challenge your Zionism. And we know at this juncture, Zionism cannot exist without who? The parents, those wealthy parents of those students, right? Those Congress people, those CEOs, those consultants, the Robert Krafts of the world. Like, Zionism can't survive without their funding. And if their kids are like, nah, eventually your kids do rub off on you. Eventually, you gotta go back home. Y'all gotta eat at the dinner table. Y'all gotta eat at the Thanksgiving table, right? Beyond the fact that those kids are gonna be leaders one day, beyond that fact, those kids have money. They're gonna have money in perpetuity because they're that rich. But like, kids will change your mind. I've changed my mom's mind several times, and it's very hard to change my mom's mind. My mom is, bless her soul, but she's hard-headed. Probably where I got it from. But like, you got to sit at the Thanksgiving table at some point. So like, it's a big deal that the kids of the movers and shakers of the world are protesting. That is their role for now. You could be a lawyer, and your role is to save people who have been put in jeopardy because they decided to protest or they decided to stand up to Zionism. Maybe your role is the police officer that maybe, because I'm not naive, bro. You can't just pull off. I ain't gonna pretend like you're gonna quit your job because like if you're a police officer and you got 3-4 kids and like I'm not unrealistic. I get it. I really am understanding. But your role is to make sure, nah, you're not about to treat them like that. Nah, if I see it, I'm reprimanding you. Nah, if I see it, I'm reporting you. Nah, if I see it, I'm pulling you off. You're not going to hurt these kids. And I've seen that, by the way. I saw that in Florida while I was living in Miami. There was a black woman who, during the protest, was calling out and suspending police officers who abuse protesters. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a role that they can play. My role right now, telling you all these stories, helping expose the corruption, my role a couple months ago was going to Egypt and helping send aid and shining a light on the stories and telling the real story about why Egypt is a little bit shaky on just accepting 2.5 million Palestinians because at the behest of Israel and the United States. Because nobody knew, and I just can briefly tell y'all, nobody realized that there's a huge Somali population there. Nobody realized there's a huge Sudanese population there. Nobody realized there's a huge Iraqi and Syrian population there. And nobody realized that those not like a couple of thousand, like tens of thousands, like totaling out to hundreds of thousands because of conflicts and wars started by Israel and the United States. And then they tell Egypt to accept the refugees. Egypt is not a third world country, but they are developing, and it is not their responsibility to constantly take on the responsibility and bear the burden of the decisions, the bad decisions of Israel and Israel and the United States in the West. Nobody knew that story. And when I went, by the way, to do the aid for Palestine and Milos, people weren't really I was with other content creators. I was the only political content creator. Everybody else was like models, Muslim creators, like just, telling a good word, travel, bloggers, stuff like that. I was the only one that was like asking, like, hold up, they don't look Egyptian. Oh, they're not from Egypt. Where are they from? From Syria. Okay, well, this neighborhood, this whole neighborhood is Syrian. Whole neighborhood of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Syrians living together, an orphanage full of Syrians and Iraqis. I'm like, that mad don't math. Why haven't we? Oh, well, they're orphans from the war that got sent here. No one knew about it. So I did a video talking about it for Hotspot because no one knew about it. Everybody has a role. And now more people they understand the point. Like, you can't just be like, oh, now they know, like, whenever somebody says, well, why won't Egypt take them? Well, there's a host of reasons why Egypt won't just blindly accept. And by the way, that doesn't make it less of a genocide just because you get Egypt to accept 2.5 million Palestinians. That doesn't make it less of a genocide. If anything, the fact that you want them to take 2.5 million Palestinians justifies the genocide. Genocide isn't just killing people. It's the intent on removing them by any means necessary. Everybody has a role. The Texas Department of Public Safety said in a post on X, formerly Twitter, we don't call it X, it's Twitter, that 34 people have been arrested in the protest as of 9 p.m. But that's crazy. That means they started protesting in the middle of the day, and they knew that these state troopers were coming in, and they were like, yeah, we don't care. We're still staying. Shout out to them. The president and the university administration chose to militarize our campus in response to students gathering to express themselves. Vasudevan. Ooh, that's a hard name. Why is everybody's names getting harder and harder to pronounce? Vasudevan said, we're going to call him V, Mr. V, said that faculty members had planned to rally Thursday around staff and program cuts under state law banning diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at public universities. But she now expected it to be focused on Wednesday's events. That's dope. Okay, so Ms. V is a professor. And what she's basically saying here is that although they had already planned a separate protest, so shout out to the professors for protecting the diversity, and equity, and inclusion initiatives at public universities, which is absolutely necessary. And I will challenge anybody and debate anybody who says otherwise. I will challenge anybody. I know that's a random aside, but I will. I went there. I was a Black student at an elite university. And no one talks about how complicated that is, especially being a Black man. Because it isn't your professors that are grading your papers usually. You got grad students, master students, PhD candidates that are grading you, that don't understand your background, that don't really sympathize with you, that also have a specific demographic that they're quicker to sympathize with. So that's a conversation for a different day. But the fact that the professors were willing to do that, and now they're going to go out, they're going to actually change their initiative and focus on the students that were affected. That is, everybody has a role. Like I said, everybody has a role. Not everybody can fulfill the same role. Some people I know, I'm one of them. Don't tell my girl that, by the way. I'm one of them. Some people would, if y'all, hey, you trying to go scrap? Hook me up. Let's go. I'll be ready. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm one of those. But that's who I am, bro. Y'all see, I got scars under my eyes, and yeah, I got down, man. I got down with the boogie down back in the day. I'm a changed man. I'm a saved man. Nah, I'm just old now, and I can't get in more trouble. She said that we cannot continue with business as usual. She told the statesman that she was motivated by the students' courage in a university atmosphere that she described as repressive. She said that faculty members had been prohibited from discussing the Israel-Hamas conflict with students, but she felt it was imperative to speak out. Wow, what? What? Faculty, that's huge. That's not some small news, guys. No wonder the students felt the need to come out and do this protest. Faculty members were prohibited from speaking about the Israel-Hamas conflict with students. So here's my thing. Before I get to these videos, because we definitely we're going to discuss those. You can't. I understand the desire to say we just want to avoid the drama, but bro, you're going to a University of Texas. You know, it ain't UNC. Okay, it ain't UNC, but it is a prestigious university, right? It is a place where you would like to see the free exchange of ideas, where complicated and complex and sometimes convoluted discourse should take place. If you can't have that conversation at a university, then why have it? And there is a way, there is an art to having a discussion like that. I mean, I witnessed, once again, being at a prestigious university, I didn't know the majority of there was a couple of professors where I definitely knew their position, but there were professors, I knew that they were great professors because I did not know their position on key issues about world events. I didn't know their position. We would talk about them though. We would have to, because I was a poli-sci major, right? I was comparative politics, which is so specifically, it's like a more intricate version of international relations. And I knew that they were great professors because when we would talk about an issue, they would ask questions and the students would debate, but you couldn't debate with your emotions. You would have to bring up statistics. You would have to bring up the facts that we know. And it was actually okay to challenge the veracity of a source. It's like, oh, well, okay, I have this source says this. Well, this is the primary source saying this, and based off of logic, this is probably a little bit more likely and reliable. And you can make your argument in class. And of course, later on, we would make it on paper. And allegedly, you know, for the most part, the side that you argued wasn't what determined the outcome of your grade. It was how you argued your point. That was one of the best things I loved about being at UNC. Gave me hell. Class was hard as hell, but one of the best parts. And if you are a political science major, a philosophy major, an international relations major, or a UNC we had, which is basically a CIA recruiting. No, not basically. It absolutely is. It's a CIA recruiting major that only 2 schools in the country have, which is oh man, what is it called? Peace, War, and Defense. Yeah, they tried to recruit me for that shit. No, I was like, no. They're like, well, if you're doing poli-sci, do Peace, War, and Defense. Why? This colonel's teaching this class, a general's teaching this class, former CIA. Nah, I'm good on that. But if you're in one of those type of majors, how can you not discuss the most pertinent issue of our time, of our lifetime, of these kids' lifetime? It's like literally COVID in this. And you're like, don't discuss it. You can't ask them questions. You can't ask how they feel about it. You can't ask how they feel about the news, how they feel reporting it. You can't ask about how they feel individual. Why can't you have calmly? And why can't you be the mature adult in the room and have a Jewish Zionist, maybe a Jewish pro-Palestinian, give their opinion, calm and encourage them? Hey, nothing inflammatory. You can't threaten nobody. You can't call them out their name. Just tell us how you feel about it, about the facts as you see them, right? You can have another Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, or pro-Palestinian person come out and they can give their conversation. Why can't that happen in a political science class? I'm so confused. Why can't that happen? How can a prestigious university prevent discourse on the biggest issue in the world today? Imagine back in the day. I probably wouldn't be able to imagine that well because I was like 12 or 13 when it happened. But imagine back in the day when Afghanistan and Iraq popped off, and they were like, "You can't talk about it at a university." What you mean you can't talk about it? Like, I got people, my family is going to war right now to fight in this shit. I can't talk about it. We can't discuss the legitimacy of this war. We can't discuss the origins of this war. We can't discuss any of this. Then why am I here? And even though I disagree with a lot of conservatives when they say, oh, it's, you know, universities are a bunch of indoctrination, that can be the case. But in this particular with this type of stuff, It is absolutely indoctrination. Because when you're saying you can't discuss, students can't discuss, professors can't discuss the most important issue of not Texas University, not Texas State, not the United States, but the world. It is the most important issue in the world. You got Palestinians, Muslims, Arabs in class right now. You got Zionists, Jews, pro-Palestine Jews, anti-Palestine Jews in class right now. They're going home and they're inundated with this. They're going on TikTok and they're inundated with this. They can't come to class. The only place that they can have this, because if you don't moderate it in class, it's gonna happen on campus, and it ain't gonna be as pretty. The conversation ain't gonna go as smoothly. It's not gonna be as moderated, and this is what happens when you don't let people talk it out and you don't guide the discourse. So if what the professor is saying is true about them not being allowed to discuss this in class, this makes perfect sense that this was the outcome. Imagine having problems your whole life and then like you explode. Well, that's humanity, right? Like basically, if you don't deal with your problems, if you keep pretending like they don't exist, you keep wanting to look the other way. Like, man, can we talk about it today? No. Can we talk about it today? No. Can we talk about it now? No. What about now? No. Well, you know what? Fuck it. We gonna do this instead. Since you didn't want to let us talk about it, this is going to be the result. Bro, look, I'm gonna show y'all the video. This is the video, people. Hold up. State troopers, people. State troopers. State troopers? Y'all called up state troopers for kids? And riot. They called up state troopers and horses and riot gear for students with iPads and laptops and book bags and purple hair. Are you kidding me, bro? Y'all called up state troopers in riot gear for students and with laptops, iPads, purple and pink hair. What? To do what? To do what, y'all? Why do you call state troopers? That's a serious question. Why do you call state troopers? You could have called campus police. Every campus of a major school has campus police. Why didn't you call campus police? Because they were apparently aware of this protest that was about to happen. They told them about it. And hell, that was the Palestinian committee should have not told them anything, honestly, in my humble opinion. But they called up state troopers, not even Austin police. This is a state-sanctioned disintegration of the First Amendment right to protest. In which state, by the way? Texas. A Republican, well, some people will say it's purple, but let's be honest, it's a Republican state with a Republican governor. Conservatives. The same conservatives who were literally crying because they weren't allowed to protest outside of Trump's trial, which, if you know me, I actually was one of the very few that were like, no, they should be allowed to protest. That's their candidate. It doesn't matter if you like them. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not breaking any laws. They should be allowed to protest outside of Trump's trial. There's nothing wrong with that. Greg Price, conservative, pro-Hamas idiots at UT Austin discover what happens. I'm assuming it's when you try to pull a Columbia in Texas. You want me to translate this for y'all? Protesters, let's take out the Hamas, take out the pro anything. Protesters at University of Texas at Austin discover what happens when you try to exercise a First Amendment right in a Republican state. They expose themselves. Because they're not really, just like I say, these Republicans don't really be for pro Second Amendment. I'm pro Second Amendment absolutist. I believe that you should, if you can afford a tank, then you should be allowed to have a tank. Sorry, I don't know what to tell people. That's how I feel. Why? Because Second Amendment was created to do what? Protect me from enemies, both foreign and domestic. And right now, the domestic enemy is looking a little bit more dangerous than the foreign enemy. So if I can afford a tank, I should be able to have a tank. The government got tanks. And if the Second Amendment was created for us to organize and have a militia and train in order to challenge not just the foreign governments, but domestic governments as well, I should be able to have a tank. That's how it works. That's how I feel about free speech. On principle, not even through the Constitution, because, you know, they're going to manipulate the Constitution. Just because you make something constitutional doesn't mean that it is lawful, if that makes sense. And damn sure doesn't mean that it's morally correct. It's morally righteous. That damn sure doesn't mean that. Are you kidding me? You're bragging about being anti-First Amendment, yo. Then you got this piece of hold on. Greg Abbott, Republican governor of Texas. Arrests being made right now and will continue until the crowd disperses. These protesters belong in jail. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated in Texas, period. Students joining in hate-filled anti-Semitic protests at any public college university should be expelled. First of all, y'all said that the protests were how. I want to know how they're hate-filled and anti-Semitic. Y'all started arresting them the moment they left class. They didn't really get a chance to start the protest. They didn't even get a chance to start the protest, y'all. And they're like, it's hate-filled and anti-Semitic. Well, how do you know? How do you know? I don't know, because it's anti-Israel. Oh, then you just say that. Just say the quiet part out loud, please. You're a fucking traitor. You're not a, like, beyond, yeah, they're all politicians for the most part, class traitors. We know that. No, you're a traitor to your country. You are loyal to a foreign power. And I'm not going to call Israel a foreign superpower because they're not a foreign superpower. If you got to call your big brother every single time you want to fucking fight, a fight that you started, you're not a superpower. Your brother is a superpower. You ain't shit. You are weak. Você é uma covarde. You're a coward. You don't have any power. Your big brother's got power. And you're taking advantage of it. Like a spoiled little brat brother would do. You all, Greg Abbott. I saw Laura Loomer. Let me see if I can find her tweet real quick. Oh, yeah. Laura Loomer, by the way, was one of the ones that was crying because they weren't letting people protest outside of Trump's trial. But then, wants to stop people from protesting for pro Palestine. Come on, bro. Oh, the audacity. The audacity. Donald Trump is being prevented from going to his SCOTUS hearing today on presidential immunity at 10 a.m. Eastern because Judge Merchant, a Trump hater, who is forcing Trump to be in trial in NYC today at the same time. By the way, it's just going to get be put on the docket again for another time. I don't know why that's like a huge thing, but whatever. I get like it's inconvenient, but whatever. It's totally unconstitutional. That has nothing to do with the Constitution, but totally unconstitutional. Every citizen has a right to attend their own hearing, except Donald Trump. Oh, y'all mean like everybody has a right to protest peacefully, except for if you're protesting against Zionism, if you're protesting for Palestine? What? Like the audacity of these people to throw out the word unconstitutional. Look, stop calling. Look, this is literally the same Laura Loomer, guys. The same Laura Loomer. This Laura Loomer right here. I would try to read it in her, like, I can't do it because with those lips, I don't know how she reads anything. No wonder she's always typing because good God, I don't know what she would do if she actually had to give a public speech. Anyway, stop calling them anti-Israel protesters. This is no longer about Israel, okay? This is about anti-American support for Islamic terrorist organizations. What? These people are anti-American Hamas supporters and Jew haters. This has transcended simple foreign policy disagreements to something more sinister. That was today at 8:10 a.m. Please explain to me, people. I need to know. This is the same woman. Now, I just read y'all a tweet. I'm not making this up. I showed y'all the receipt. This is the same woman who said it's unconstitutional for Trump to miss a hearing, which technically speaking is not unconstitutional. I'm just being like, they should not have done that to him. You shouldn't be able to weaponize the justice system against a presidential candidate because he's your opponent. I've already been very clear about this. I don't have to like Trump to be consistent. That's just how I am. And then you turn around at 8. Oh no, what's even worse is she tweeted this at 8:10 a.m. today and tweeted the Trump tweet right after. These motherfuckers. I'm telling you, you can't be famous. You can't be this famous and smart. You got to be an idiot to be this famous. They wouldn't let you get this famous if you weren't an idiot. If you weren't a race trader, a class trader, if you weren't, well, sometimes you can be a race trader. I believe that if you're a Zionist that is shitting on Jews because they're pro-Palestine, you're a race trader. So yeah, I guess in that capacity, I've seen Zionist Jews literally sterilize African Jews. So yeah, in that capacity, yeah, you're a race trader. But class trader in Zionist cases, they're race traders. But most importantly, in this particular case, you are a traitor to your own nation. This is treasonous language. You are calling someone anti-American because they refuse to support the genocide of another nation. Imagine calling somebody anti-American because they refuse to support Nazi Germany. Imagine, people. Imagine that. I mean, believe it or not, that type of stuff was happening. I don't know if y'all know that. Like, that's a different conversation for a different day. But yeah, that kind of stuff was happening. People were like, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't run, or maybe we shouldn't allow our athletes to compete in the Olympics, or allow our country even to compete in the Olympics, because we all know what Hitler's doing. And the US government and all the mainstream media, for the most part, was actually running cover for Hitler. Time magazine was running cover for Hitler. The New York Times was running cover for Hitler. At a certain point, if I'm not mistaken, so there was a pro-Nazi rally at some point, and I want to say FDR, not him, but his judge, but it was basically by proxy. It was FDR by proxy, defended. Oh yeah, it was the judge that defended the Nazi flag protests, like they were in support of the Nazis. Okay, but then FDR, if I'm not mistaken, sent an apology to Hitler for that even being an issue. So yeah, this is not uncommon. So I guess you don't have to imagine it, but yeah, that's what it looks like. War follows when you convince Americans that they're being disloyal to their country because they will not support the genocide of another nation. Stop calling them anti-Israel protests. This is no longer about Israel. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's wild to me that she can say that with a straight face. Well, no, Laura Loomer with those injections can't say shit with a straight face. But anyway, so this is no longer about Israel. This is about anti-American support for Islamic terrorist organizations. Huh? How do you even get likes on this post? You know, Laura Loomer is one of the people who speaks out the most about what happened to January 6th. because there are a lot of protesters that like that weren't violent that are actually being held without being charged, right? Which is illegal, right? They haven't even been arraigned, which is supposed to happen, I believe, within 24 to 48 hours, depending on the state in the case, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, right? They haven't been arraigned, they haven't been charged, and they are still being held without bond. There's a lot that is a lot. There's a lot of people. I've been outspoken about that. I said that's not justice. That is not due process. Laura Loomer is one of the ones who's spoken out most about January 6th protesters being held unjustly. And she has the audacity. This is about anti-American support for Islamic terrorist organizations. These people are anti-American Hamas supporters and Jew haters. This has transcended simple foreign policy disagreements. So what about, for example, Max Blumenthal, Jewish man. He put it pretty well. Which side are you on? You got this type of Jew over here, and then you have Jews for Palestine, which is effectively Jews for peace. So those Jewish people hate Jews. All of the Jews for peace hate Jews. All of the Jews for peace hate Jews, guys. It can't be all of them. All of the Jews for peace, like, now everybody knows a Ben Carson or two, okay? Right? Everybody knows at least one of them. Everybody knows somebody who likes to ride around their car, listen to coon tunes. Like, everybody knows somebody who will sell their own people out for a spot at the table to eat some unseasoned cornbread without butter. Everybody knows somebody like that. But it can't be every single Jew. It can't be all these Jews for peace. It can't be every Max Blumenthal, every Aaron Mate. Like, it's, come on, bro. No. But they don't ever want to talk about that. And hell, a lot of them have stopped having Jewish, like Norm Finkelstein, like it can't be all of them. It can't. But so now Max Blumenthal, a Jew, Aaron Mate, a Jew, Jews for peace, all the Jewish people protesting in solidarity with the Palestinians, all of them just hate Jews now. They're anti-Semitic. They just wake up every morning, punch themselves, because damn it, why am I a Jew? Come on, bro. It is about Israel. It is absolutely about Israel. And they employed state violence. The police state got, not University of Austin, Texas police, not Austin City police, not whatever county Austin is in, not the sheriffs. They got state troopers. Boy, I know that there was somebody probably booming down the highway that day. Booming down the highway, like, yeah, shit, we ain't got nobody out on the highway. We can speed as much as we want to. Nobody hiding in the hills. But they got state troopers to come in and crush students. State-sanctioned violence against students to protect the genocidal intentions of a foreign nation. You all are traitors. Governor Abbott is a traitor. Laura Loomer is a traitor. Ben Shapiro is a traitor. All these fake ass, oh, I'm a constitutional conservative. Boy, ain't nothing constitutional about you. Nothing. You're constitutional when it serves your interests. You're just as bad as the liberals. You're just as bad as the Democrats. You spend all your time criticizing. Let's check out some of these super chats real quick. Sparky, thank you for the super chat. Great work, Niko. Keep it up. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Like I said, I was actually going to go live. Well, I was so close. I said at the beginning of the stream, I was so pissed about everything I was seeing last night. I couldn't really sleep. And I almost got up at 5 a.m. If it wasn't for my damn baby and the fact that y'all was all asleep, I probably would have been awake. Every time anyone says that Israel is our only friend in the Middle East, I can't help but think that before Israel, we had no enemies in the Middle East. U.S. missionary John Sheehan. Yep, that's what they say. But what they don't really tell you, it's funny about that. They're like, Israel's our only friend in the Middle East, which is patently false, right? Jordan, which actually is like a 90% Palestinian population, their government you can't really call it that, but their government, their regime is actually a pro-US regime. For a long time, Saudi Arabia was exclusively a pro-US family, the Saudi Arabian royal family. But what they also don't tell you, once again, when they say that that Israel is the only friend, it's because the friends that we had, we burned them all. We burned all our friends. Iran was our Israel. Do y'all know that? Iran is where we got our weapons from for a long time. Iran is who we gave weapons to. Iran is who we trained. Iran is who we got oil from. Iran is who the majority of the West at the time were getting oil from. Iran was like that. Then they elected Mossadegh, and then all hell broke loose. We were allies with Saddam. We know how that went, right? But we're still allies. Well, no, I don't know what our relationship with the UAE is right now, because the UAE came out and condemned Israel. So we'll see how that goes. But like, no, they weren't the only allies in the Middle East. If they were the only allies in the Middle East, we wouldn't be part of OPEC. We would have nothing to do with OPEC. It wouldn't make any sense. But they love to act like that, though. They love to act like it. I mean, whatever. Justify your genocide however you want to justify it, right? Fun fact, in 1492, the Ottoman Empire sent ships to rescue Jews from Spanish Inquisition. Did not know that. Did not know that. Well, but it also, once again, it makes sense. One of the reasons I believe that they had to take down the Ottoman Empire was because people always kind of forget the proximity from the Middle East, what was once considered the Ottoman Empire. People forget the proximity between that and Africa. And there's like a continuity there that people don't really consider. So you have the Middle East, but then there's that Libya thing, right? Libya was full of Arabs. Libya is still really full of Arabs. It's like Egypt. It's got Arabs and Africans. And those countries were getting closer to each other. The gap, the distance between them, like that's what happens when technology evolves. And as the Ottoman Empire continued to grow up, they already saw what it looked like before Alexander the Great. And for those of you who don't know, fun fact, Alexander the Great, although he was Greek, was never in Greece. He was always hanging out in what we know as Persia, or what we know as Iran, that area. A lot of people actually think now that Alexander the Great was more likely of like a Middle Eastern, Arabic, Dead Sea type of skin tone. And that's why he actually felt more comfortable there and with the culture there, and why people were actually more accepting of him in those regions, and why he felt more at home. He was almost never actually in Greece. So, but that part of that empire included Egypt and like, so there's a history there. The Middle East, quote unquote, Ottoman Empire, and Africa being very close. Now, if you fast forward, as Great Britain and the United States went an Anglo Empire, they already had to deal with the Russian Empire that I know this breaks some people's hearts, but the Bolshevik Revolution was not organic, and I know people don't like it. You could argue that there's pros and cons of it, but it wasn't organic. Trotsky was a traitor. Stalin kept the empire together after, because he was just that charismatic. He had good intentions, but it was not organic. Because if you want to break up an empire, the easiest way to do it is during transitions of power. The easiest way to create a transition of power with the royal family is to do what? Remove the royal family and pretend it's for democracy. Color revolutions, what the U.S. is best at. But you had to deal with the Russian Empire. Then you had to deal with the Ottoman Empire at some point. That was just as powerful and not really on bad terms with the Russian Empire. They were fine. Right? You couldn't have, that's part of the reason World War I happened. Well, actually, I would say probably the majority of the reason World War I happened. Ottoman Empire stuff, Russian Empire stuff, Germany was on the come up industrially. So you could not allow, and still to this day, cannot allow. That's how they think. Why did Gaddafi die? Everybody knows this now. Because of the gold dinar. Why? because he was going, they already had an African Union. People don't know that. He was a chairman, former chairman of the African Union. Africa and the Middle East, most of those countries were about to unite, and Gaddafi was at the center of it. Then he was going to create the gold dinar, which was a currency backed by both the gold and the oil that Libya had already had access to, but also all of their allies in both Africa and the Middle East had access to in some form or another. They were about, if Africa and the Middle East were allowed to unite, the Western world would, it's over. It's done. The global South doesn't need Western Europe. The global South doesn't need the United States. The United States is actually, if they were not idiots, they could actually exist in a bubble and never need anything from anybody again. Like they're that self-dependent and self-sufficient if they wanted to be. But you can't be a superpower that way in their minds. But the global South doesn't need any of the West. They don't need these cold ass countries that can't grow shit, don't got no oil, don't got no gas. They don't need them. If Africa and I hope it happens one day, I really do. If Africa and the Middle East unite, which would probably lead to then the rest of the global South uniting, Brazil, rest of Latin America, China, Eastern Asia, like it would be over for the West. It would be over for the West. And we need that, honestly. CIA, Mike Johnson into the SCIF, and as an example showing their capabilities. They pulled up evidence of Johnson and an underage goat across the state lines. Did not know that. You gotta send me that. That's crazy. But make Israel Syria again. In those Ottoman Empire days, Levant Jews got along fine with their neighbors, whether Muslim, Christian, or otherwise. Yeah. Until the 1979 revolution, Iran was known as a choice duty station for American military families. Yes, it was. That I was aware of. Yep. 100% correct, Sparky. Appreciate the super chats, man. As usual. Man, I got to show y'all this interview from Mike Johnson. Man, look. We going to try to get through it. We going to help each other get through. I told myself that I gotta start making myself
breaking news. There are pro-Palestinian
for you guys. I don't like to do it, but I have to. It literally triggers. I don't like to use the word trigger. There's very few things that trigger me. Police officers trigger me, and mainstream media interviews trigger me. Yeah, I'm not joking. There's a visceral reaction that happens in my body where I want to jump through the screen and choke everybody. It's so horrible. But when y'all hear the interview, y'all will understand why. So now I'm just going to go to y'all for therapy. Whenever I got to get forced to watch an interview, y'all going to get forced to watch an interview. So welcome to the show. All right.
In protests across the United States, spreading violent clashes today between police and students at USC and UT Austin, where more than 20 people were arrested. This follows protests at NYU, Brown University, and Columbia University, where an encampment has taken over part of the center of campus. More than 100 have been arrested. In-person classes have been canceled after 8 straight days of demonstrations. I was on that campus earlier today to interview the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. This is what I saw and heard. Johnson walked out. There were hundreds of people on the steps where he and other GOP representatives that he had brought along with him and his entourage spoke. They were, and I'm going to show you here, this is my cell phone video, chanting Free Palestine, heckling, booing when Johnson called for the president of the school to resign. They were not friendly. They couldn't actually hear the speaker, which I can tell you is a good thing, because much of what he said would have incensed that crowd. And after the press conference, the speaker's team moved us inside into the Columbia Library, where the speaker did interviews. They put that entire space under lockdown because of that large crowd. So here's our conversation right after that, hundreds of people outside when we rushed inside the library, moments after that tense press conference. Speaker Johnson, thanks for your time. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Congress right now. You've chosen to travel to New York, and as you were just out on those steps calling for the resignation of the president of Columbia, there was heckling, there was shouting, it was not a warm reception.
Enjoy your free speech.
Were you surprised at all by what happened?
Well, there was a sea of students who
So first of all, before we even get to his bullshit, I want y'all to remember what he said. He said, enjoy your free speech, which in my opinion insinuates what? That he is aware that no one was doing anything wrong. They were just partaking in their First Amendment right to protest. I want y'all to remember that because this is Mike Johnson, so you know he about to fuck that up. So go ahead.
apparently have been involved in the protests here, and I'm not surprised that they didn't welcome our visit because we're calling out their activities. What the point we tried to make today is that this is not who we are as Americans. This is not an expression of the First Amendment. This is not an exchange.
So what I just say, y'all? Of course he did. Of course, didn't even take 20 seconds. Then he couldn't wait 10 seconds to contradict himself. He literally was at us. Well, he couldn't hear himself. Maybe that's why, because they were all booing him, perhaps. But what did he say? Enjoy your free speech. Enjoy your First Amendment right to protest. And then he literally says, this isn't the First Amendment. Well, no, then why did you say that? Why did you say that at the protest? It's like these people don't know that internet and YouTube exists. I promise you.
Of ideas.
But I tell y'all, bro, these interviews be triggering the hell out of me. They're so stupid. I can't. But now y'all gonna have to deal with it with me. We gonna have to. This is gonna be therapy for everybody. Because I know y'all don't like watching them too. So, but you got to, man. You gotta watch it because you need to know that we're dealing with morons. Morons are running the government.
This is threats and intimidation of violence against Jewish students for who they are, for their faith. And that's a terrible trend that's going on in the country right now. Where
are the threats and the violence? She actually opened up the interview by saying there were peaceful protests. She opened up by saying that. He said, enjoy your First Amendment rights. He said that at the protest. He was physically there. Do y'all think, ladies and gentlemen, that they would allow, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Johnson is still the Speaker of the House, correct? He is. Do you think that if the protests were violent, that the secret police, the FBI, the NYPD would allow the Speaker of the United States Congress to be present? If the protests were violent, would they allow the United States Speaker of the House, who is going there to challenge the narrative and the issue of the protest, do you think they would allow him to be present, y'all? They just get up there and lie. They get up there and lie, bro. It's so annoying.
We have these similar.
But some people, here's the problem. Some people, they're going to see tweets from Twitter calling it violent. They're Republican and conservative friends, or they're Zionist friends. So even Democrats, that was wrong of me, because Zionists, they don't know a party. They only know AIPAC. But they're going to go and see their Zionist friends. They're saying this is violent. They're going to probably miss the whole part of the conversation where he said that go ahead and enjoy your First Amendment rights, even though he insinuating that he knows that they're not doing anything wrong, but he disagrees with them. And then you're going to get up here and they're going to watch this interview and be like, oh, they were violent. And then they're going to say it was violent. He's going to say it was violent. They're going to repeat what he said to their friends. Oh, it was violent. Why? Mike Johnson said it was violent. Mike Johnson also said they weren't doing anything. He also said, enjoy your First Amendment rights. He disagreed with them, which is fine. But then he gets in this interview and lies.
Types of activities and what are becoming violent protests on campuses around the country. And members of Congress, I believe, have an obligation, a responsibility to speak about this and to demand that it come to an end, because it's not good for us.
The main thing they were chanting was Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic?
Well, what's anti-Semitic is that Hamas endorsed this protest today. Within the last 2 hours, they issued an endorsement statement and heralded the students here and said, this is the next.
First of all, if that's the case, like, okay, I don't know where. So hold on, because I want y'all to hear what she asked him. They're just saying Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic? Credit to her for asking that very simple question. Basic level of journalism. How is it anti-Semitic? Okay, so you would expect a response about something the students did, right?
protest today. But within the last 2 hours, they issued an endorsement.
You would expect a responsibility.
The main thing they were chanting was "Free Palestine." How is that anti-Semitic?
Well, what's anti-Semitic is that Hamas endorsed this protest today.
I'm confused. Okay, so what's the definition of anti-Semitic? Once again, we're back at the question, guys. We're back at the same question, guys. So at first it was the students are violent, the students are using inflammatory language, the students are the problem, the students are clashing. Okay, so she's like, well, no, I was there, because now he can't. Maybe if she wasn't there, but she premised at the beginning of this entire interview, I was there. She said they were chanting "Free Palestine." How is that anti-Semitic? So after you were talking about how bad this is because it's something the students did, you bring up, ding, 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 Hamas. Of course they fucking brought. Of course it's Hamas. Of course it's Hamas. It's always, I got first of all, an endorsement. Yeah, I'm sure that Hamas would probably endorse people that are fighting against the genocide of the Palestinian people. I think like that's a pretty sane thing to endorse. But how is that anti-Semitic? And how does that, let's be clear, if you wanted to call that anti-Semitic, how does that make the students anti-Semitic? Where is the logic in that? How did it, which they don't really show, I don't remember hearing anything about it. I don't remember seeing anything about it. But you know, Mike Johnson gets the intelligence briefings now. That's what he says. That's the difference in Mike Johnson before and Mike Johnson now, the traitor to his nation. If Hamas, all the way in Palestine, decided to endorse a protest, which I'm sure they endorsed all the protests, that now makes the protest anti. You know what's funny about that? Y'all remember whenever that Grand Dragon, I wish I could remember his name, don't quote me on it, but y'all remember when that Grand Dragon for the KKK came out and endorsed Hillary Clinton? Do y'all remember that? Now, granted, Hillary Clinton actually is racist, but does that mean that Hillary Clinton is actually pro-KKK? That's what that sounds like to me, based off of Mike Johnson's interview. Hell, there's a Grand Dragon that came out and endorsed Trump. Now, it was like somebody going back and forth, but are we responsible for every single endorsement of something? There are conservatives who you might not like that like watching my show. Does that mean that I am now, like, whatever their beliefs are now attached to me? Their actions are now attached to me because they like my show? Man, yeah, they said they agree with Niko on the issue that he's right about. Can't stand that guy. Niko's basically a Ben Shapiro Democrat. Like, yeah, I know what I said. I said that on purpose because Ben Shapiro is a Hillary Clinton Democrat. I know what I said. That is the stupidest shit that I have heard in the last 5 minutes. I also know what I said there. Yes, 5 minutes. It hasn't. It's been a long morning of stupid shit. So it's only been 5 minutes. But good God, y'all. They're not even trying anymore. They're not even trying anymore. Gotta say Hamas. He gonna, and I'm gonna let you know right now, he gonna work through all the talking points. So I'm preparing y'all.
2 hours, they issued an endorsement statement and heralded the students here and said, this is the next generation of leadership in America.
By the way, like and share. Shout out to all my early morning people who are up getting busy on this Thursday morning, especially if y'all all the way in California. I know it's super early for y'all, so I'm sorry I'm so hyped. Like I told y'all, it's 10:41 a.m. here in Hio. So we're way ahead of the curve on the energy level, and I got my coffee today, and I'm pissed. So shout out to all y'all that just now getting up. If I'm too much for y'all, turn down your TV. It's okay. I ain't gonna be offended.
If you're getting endorsed by Hamas, that's not a good look. It's not a good sign. Some of these students apparently are unaware of the atrocities of October 7th, or they're denying it. They deny that. Okay, so I can't play. So once again, he said that these students are unaware of the atrocities of October 7th. I can't play that part because you know what he's going to say. He going to say the R word. He going to add some superlatives, right? You know, they love to add the superlatives and the hyperbole and the adjectives to because the truth isn't enough. It isn't enough. So he has to add all the extra stuff. Okay. But y'all know what he's going to say. But if I let him say it, CNN's allowed to say it, but I can't. But y'all know what he's going to say. He's going to talk about babies in ovens.
He's going to talk about the R word. He's going to talk about things that didn't happen. He's not going to actually give any evidence of it happening. He's going to say that the students are effectively endorsing it. So I'm going to have to skip that part.
At those atrocities. This is not who we are.
Speaker, in those early days, I was in some of the kibbutz and you could smell the death and the bodies. It was horrific. And yet what's happened since has been horrific too. And there's a student here, a PhD student at Columbia. I wanted to quote him. He is Jewish. He has written a testimonial about what's going on here right now, his experience on campus. And he says, I'll read it to you, the most pressing threats to our safety as Jewish students do not come from tents on campus. We should be focusing on the material reality of war. The munitions our government is sending to Israel, which kill Palestinians by the thousands, and the Americans participating in the violence. Do you think they're protesting the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza?
That Jewish guy must be anti-Semitic. Bro, I love the way he framed that. Again, I need y'all to see that again, because it really concretorializes what a lot of us say. Like, it's more dangerous. Like, if you are genuinely worried about anti-Semitism and the dangers of Jews, because there are people that will take it to the extreme. There are some people who will not dichotomize a Jew for peace in a Zionist because it's been taken too far. You know that there are people like that exist. What makes it dangerous for Jews is the fact that you keep lumping them in together with these psychopaths and making it seem like it's okay to genocide, and all of them agree. He said it perfectly.
From tents on campus, we should be focusing on the material reality of war. The munitions our government is sending to Israel, which kill Palestinians by the thousands, and the Americans participating in the violence. Do you think that protesting the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, protesting the tens of thousands of innocent people who have died there, is anti-Semitic in and of itself?
I think there's always a place for debate in the free exchange of ideas, but let's not equivocate.
No, you don't. You literally just said that. You don't believe that. You don't believe that. Whatever.
On what's happening with Hamas and in Gaza. This is a battle, as Netanyahu said, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, between good versus evil, light versus darkness, civilization versus barbarism. This isn't a close call. We have terrorists who preyed upon and attacked.
Civilization versus barbarism. I mean, that statement is actually truer than he might think it is, but not in the way that he thinks it is. But do you hear the way they do it? Light versus dark, civilization versus barbarism, good versus evil. Rules-based order is what he's talking about. And do you know what rules-based order means? I'm gonna be very, very clear about this, because I know some of y'all may not like it because it makes you uncomfortable to hear. But what he means is, this is white people from Western world going up against brown people who don't agree with us, who are sitting on land and resources that we want. It's white versus brown. And y'all know how they treat the white people who won't submit to rules-based order. Y'all know how they treated those people. If you was on the helping out the slaves because you knew it was wrong, they was gonna lynch your ass right along with them if they caught them. All the words that he said had nothing to do with facts, but it's called dog whistle. He said, all my little rules-based order, he's dog whistling. It's like Netanyahu said, good versus evil, light versus dark. What do you mean light versus dark? Also, I'm not of the mind that dark does not necessarily mean evil, so I don't know why they associate it with. Oh yeah, we know. Yeah, we do. We do know why. Barbarism. So I'm confused. Bombing hospitals isn't barbarism? Bombing hospitals full of innocent people isn't barbarism? Bombing refugee camps isn't barbarism? Luring starving Palestinians to a location under the guise that they're about to receive aid and sniping them down one by one isn't barbarism. What is barbaric about a Palestinian child sleeping in his head and sleeping in his house and getting a bomb dropped on his head. How is that barbaric? Interesting.
Act viciously and killed many innocent Israelis. And
Quiet part out loud. This is what he said.
act viciously and killed many innocent Israelis. What's happening in Hamas, with Hamas and in Gaza. This is a battle, as Netanyahu said, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, between good versus evil, light versus darkness, civilization versus barbarism. This isn't a close call. We have terrorists who preyed upon and attacked viciously and killed many innocent Israelis.
Okay. That's so I want to play all that together. He just said the quiet part out loud. He knows that there are Israelis that attacked and preyed upon innocent Palestinians. We know the numbers. You know what's so crazy about those numbers that the Palestinian Authority has put out? Israel hasn't even denied the numbers. Okay, so we know. But he said, "Oh, they attacked and killed many innocent Israelis." That's the difference. If it's Palestinian, those lives don't matter. Those protests got to be shut down. Those lives don't hold the same value, but they attacked and killed many innocent Israelis. So it's different. He linked the barbarism, the light versus dark, the good versus evil, and said, and we know what the difference is because those were Israelis that got killed. By the way, from what we know now, most of those Israelis were killed by Israel because they were indiscriminately bombing them and attacking them from Black Hawks and shelling them with their tanks because they were scared to engage with Hamas one-on-one. So there's that part, but you see the way that he links that's on purpose. Those are AIPAC talking points. He is saying that there is a group that is human and deserves dignity, and there is a group that is subhuman, and it doesn't matter what happens to them. And if you say that their deaths are of the same value of Israeli deaths, then you are not following rules-based order, and therefore you are the enemy. That is what he is saying.
And the idea that they would be out here in support of that, Hamas is using civilians as shields for themselves. They put their operations under hospitals and schools. They're using.
That doesn't happen. That still hasn't been. We're still waiting on that because everybody done debunked it. BBC debunked it. Independent journalists debunked it. Other journalists are pissed because they're like, well, you want to let us in so we can see? And they're like, nah, I can't let you. Sorry. But you know, it's interesting, really quick. Because he seems really concerned because we're talking about this barbarism situation, right? This barbarism. It's barbarism. It's good versus evil. It's all that good stuff. And he brings up human shields. And that would be like just evil, just to support and justify and protect your military through human shields. And if anybody ever did something like that, I believe that's something that we should all condemn. Wouldn't y'all agree? What is this right here that I'm looking at? Oh, that says Israel. IDF used Palestinians as human shields on, let's get my glasses because I don't want anybody to think, you know, I do got vision problems. So let me just make sure, add some legitimacy to this. That says 1,200. Now, I've been speaking a lot of Portuguese lately, so y'all make sure that I'm saying this right. Does that say they've used Palestinians as human shields 1,200 occasions in the last 5 years? Not 20 years, not 70 years, just in the last 5 years. And is that from the Israeli defense officials? The Israeli Defense Ministry will appeal against the Supreme Court ruling banning the use of Palestinian human shields and raids, official says. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Excuse my language, y'all. I'm sorry if I got kids listening, but oh my God. Oh my God. I gotta say it again. This is Tuesday. This is 2005, y'all. This is 2005. This is 2005. The Israeli Defense Ministry will appeal against the Supreme Court ruling banning the use of Palestinian human shields and raids. You're trying to tell me that it was such a problem. They're using shields. Israel is so guilty of using human shields to such a degree that they just, like, the courts had to get involved and make it a rule that you couldn't do it. But he gonna tell you it's about light versus dark, civilization versus barbarism, good versus evil. They gonna tell you that this all started on October 7th. They gonna tell y'all that it's Hamas using human shields. But y'all had to go to court in y'all own country. And the damn defense ministry had to make an argument. They made an argument to continue, not like, because it wouldn't be any different, but still. Maybe it's a little bit different, okay? If y'all got rid of the rule and now you're like, damn, but Hamas is still doing it, and y'all can maybe save face a little bit by saying, well, we stopped because we realized how horrible it was and we're trying to change our ways, but Hamas is still doing it. No, they went to court so that they could continue to use Palestinians as human shields. Every accusation is a confession. It's all projection. All of it. How Hamas going to use human shields? They don't need to use human shields. Anybody with a gun, if you old enough to hold a gun, they're trying to fight on their own accord. They're fighting on their own volition. You don't need to use a human shield for a 16-year-old. No, you don't need to. They hate Israel enough to do it on their own. But y'all were using Palestinian human shields in raids, and you went to court to make sure that you could continue to do so. And this has the audacity to sit here and like, oh, they're using human shields. Come on, bro.
Using civilians in a theater of war. And so it's difficult. Why would someone blame Israel for trying to stamp out the very terrorist threats that are right there on the doorstep? We should not be dictating to Israel their military strategy. We should be supporting our ally, which is the only stable democracy in the Middle East. Is there anything
Israel?
The only stable democracy in the Middle East. Hold up real quick. The same stable democracy in the Middle East that right now has thousands of Israeli Zionist protesters trying to remove Netanyahu because he keeps starting wars so that he can't be removed. That democracy, the same democracy that no one in Israel trusts, because Netanyahu still keeps getting in power, and they're trying to get him out, and he will not leave. The former prime minister of Israel said, yeah, he keeps starting these wars because he knows like it's almost impossible to remove a sitting prime minister in Israel if you're under a declaration of war. He knows this. The only stable democracy, what is stable about what's happening in Israel? They're in the middle of committing a genocide, and the genocide is being perpetuated by a prime minister that their own people don't. And what makes it worse is that they're actually pro-genocide. The majority of Israelis are pro-genocide. And they're still like, yeah, but we don't like that guy. We want him out, and they can't get him out. There's nothing stable about a country that's full of pro-genocide people, pro-genocide citizens who can't even remove the man that they didn't want there to begin with, who keep starting wars. And that's a lie. They're not the only stable democracy in the Middle East. They're not the only. Syria is a stable democracy. You might be trying to destabilize a country, but the reason that Assad keeps winning, verifiably so, you can verify it, is because their democracy is stable. That's the only way. The only reason Iran can keep their leadership in power and have the people that they want in power is because no matter how many times you try to overthrow recently, their democracy is actually stable. Sorry for you. Not really. Like they have stable democracies, they just don't have stable countries and stable economies because you're trying to destroy them. And to say that we shouldn't be trying to dictate their policy, no. If I'm giving you billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, and I'm paying for your goddamn health care, and I'm paying for your severance pay, and I'm paying your salaries and your retirement, I'm paying all your bills. You're not going to tell me what I will be dictating, especially if it's going to harm the interests of the U.S., which is exactly what's happening. We shouldn't be dictating what's going on. We should just be standing by. That sounds like a horrible friend to me. You go ahead, be the friend and let your friend do dumb shit all the time and watch how long that lasts. Wait to see how long it is until it comes and bites you in the ass. Because that's what's happening. It's already happening. Cuck energy. And Mike Johnson, what the hell are you doing in New York anyway? Shouldn't you be in DC? Defending the fact that you are a traitor to your nation, and hell, you're a traitor to your party. The whole reason they got Kevin McCarthy out is because they thought that you were going to come in and perhaps challenge Biden in some way. But instead, you've worked your ass off to give Biden everything he would have gotten under McCarthy, just with less arguments. So what are you even doing here?
Could do that would be over the line for you? Because when you talk about stamping it out, I mean, many innocent children have died and are dying at Israel's hands and the IDF.
There have been civilians murdered, but that is not the fault of Israel. It's the fault.
No, they dropped bombs on them. They dropped bombs on hospitals.
Of the terrorists, the Hamas operators and soldiers, the terrorists who have used these people and put them.
Trying to figure out, well, because AIPAC gives them the talking points. So you can't call them soldiers because that actually means they're military. That they're military, they're not a terrorist organization. Operators like, damn it, I forgot. I call them terrorists. Shit, slipped up. That's why he's like, I didn't do that. He don't know what he's like. Damn it, AIPAC gonna dock a check. They're gonna dock a little bit of that check.
Operators and soldiers, the terrorists who have used these people and put them into harm's way. Israel, I'm convinced, is doing its very best to prevent civilian casualties, but this is a war, and they're fighting for their very existence.
No, they're not. It's not a war. It's a massacre. It's a genocide. And you know what, guys? He said, really quick. He said that Israel is doing its best to prevent civilian casualties. Now, so maybe it would be difficult to know what that looks like if we didn't have recent examples of what that looks like. For example, Iran didn't want civilian casualties when it retaliated against Israel. So they were very strategic in their targets. They actually did hit their targets, but no civilians were harmed. Just like when Iran said, when they retaliated for Soleimani, they said, we're going to hit who we hit. We're going to hit where we hit, but they didn't want American civilian casualties. So they hit where they hit, and there were no civilian casualties. In other words, when a country says they're doing everything in their power to prevent civilian casualties, we have an example of what that looks like. And ironically, it's the country that Israel says is evil and is trying to destroy the world. Now, mind you, Iran has every single right to they had every single right to not hold back. Casualties be damned. They had that right. I mean, just based off of the eye for an eye, the way that the world works, retaliation, like especially the way that Israel's been acting lately, the way that they've been threatening Iran, the casualties that they've caused, like they had every right to retaliate whatever way they saw fit. But Iran was very clear they didn't want to kill innocent civilians. That's what it looks like. We don't need to guess what it looks like when you do. You trying to tell me when y'all literally killed, y'all sent one missile at the World Kitchen truck, y'all blew up one, but like they survived. and they called y'all to tell y'all to stop, please, Jesus Christ, stop trying to kill us. And y'all blew up another one. Y'all sent another missile, another drone. They called y'all again, please, for the love of God, stop trying to get, and y'all sent another one. That was y'all trying y'all best to not kill civilians. I'm confused. I don't know I don't think he knows what that means anymore. So hold up, whenever y'all lured once again a bunch of innocent Palestinians who were waiting for aid into a single location, y'all called them into a single location, and y'all started pew, 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 pew. That was trying your best. When y'all bombed a hospital, bomb 2 hospitals. Bomb 3 hospitals. No, bomb 3 hospitals and multiple churches and mosques and a refugee camp. That was them trying their hardest to prevent civilian casualties. You see how flippantly he talks about the civilian well, they're trying. But when it's Israeli casualties, it's we have to destroy all of Gaza. Why? Because there were a few Israeli civilians. The value of their lives are different in the eyes of these people.
And they are not the aggressors. It is the other side. Some of the people here seem not to understand that. And I think that's a real problem. We can debate the merits of all these things, but what they're doing here is intimidating Jewish students. That's
like she literally, you can't, that's an APAC talking point. You know, he's just running through them because she just gave a whole example. Like, the Jewish student said, that's actually, they're not threatened at all. The majority of them are not threatened. They gave you what the real threat is. And you just like, they're intimidating Jewish students. No. If me saying pro-Palestine threatens you or makes you feel threatened, it means you're a Zionist. I mean, I can't help that. That's your fault. But how is that me threatening your life? I can't, if I'm, especially if I'm Palestinian, for example, if I'm saying pro-Palestine, if you feel threatened by me saying I want to live and I want my family to live, you are the fucking problem. You're offended because you want me to be silent while your people massacre my people. Maybe you shouldn't be allowed to feel safe. Hey, maybe that's the case. Maybe we should consider that as an option. If me saying I don't want to die offends you, you are the problem.
the thing that is so problematic.
All right, so let me ask you about that, because when it comes to that, the NYPD, at least as of Monday, have said they've not received a single call from Columbia University of reports of any physical harm.
Well,
no physical harm.
Right, but you have to speak to these Jewish students who are in fear of their lives, who are cowering in their apartments right now, who are not coming to class. In fact, the administration recognized the threat was so great, they canceled classes. Now they've come out with this hybrid.
No, they canceled classes because Robert Kraft pulled funding. Actually, the president of Columbia came out specifically and said, all the protests have been peaceful. They've come out and said that. That's why she went for so long preventing the NYPD from getting involved, because they were exclusively peaceful. In fact, the only violence that was expressed was from pro-Israel protesters who literally threw chemicals at the pro-Palestine protesters. So, okay.
Good idea. Well, if you're Jewish, maybe you do want to stay at home. Maybe it'd be better off for you. But it's so discriminatory. It's so wrong. And
what? Every class, so everybody got to go home. Every class is canceled. It's all virtual for the rest of the semester, which is only a month left, more or less. Everybody gets sent home, but now it's discriminating against Jewish people. I'm so confused, guys. The word anti-Semitic has just lost all meaning. I don't even feel anything when I hear it anymore. I just kind of want to laugh, which is sad because it shouldn't be that way, but.
The class, in fact, the administration recognized the threat was so great, they canceled classes. Now they've come out with this hybrid idea. Well, if you're Jewish, maybe you do want to stay at home. Maybe it'd be better off for you. But it's so discriminatory. It's so wrong in every way. The responsibility of a university. I'm so
confused. So the university did what you wanted to do. By his logic, they protected the students by sending them home because they felt safe. They had to feel locked. They felt locked up in their apartments or whatever. So okay, cool. If everybody feels unsafe, we'll just send people home and finish class. Well, now it's discriminatory because now you're sending everybody home. You know what? Anti-Semitism in a nutshell. That is anti-Semitism in a nutshell. They believe if everybody has the same rights, it is anti-Semitic. He just said the quiet part out loud, people. He said the quiet part out loud for everyone to hear. He said, whenever they were hiding in their apartments by themselves, it was okay. Oh man, they're scared. Well, now you're sending everybody home. Like, that's discriminatory. What? When everybody gets to do something, I think that's like, correct me if I'm wrong. Once again, I haven't, I don't speak English all day like I used to. But the last time I checked, when everybody gets the same rights and everybody's doing the same thing, that's the opposite of discriminatory, isn't it? Everybody got sent home. Nobody gets to protest now. Well, no, I'm guessing people are still protesting. But my point is, no one's going to class, Jewish, Palestinian, or anything in between. How is that discriminatory? Well, like I said, he said the quiet part aloud. They always say that. I mean, on Twitter, they always say it. But in this interview, it's important to recognize he is telling you straight up, when everyone gets treated the same way Zionists get treated, it is anti-Semitic. You want people to care about Palestinian lives the same way you want them to care about Israeli lives? That's anti-Semitic. You want this group to have the same amount of power and influence as Zionists? That's anti-Semitic. You want to say Christ is king? You want to express your religious views? That's anti-Semitic. Hold up, but aren't you the same people? You literally call yourself God's chosen people. Well, that's different. Because we're God's chosen people. Well, I believe that Christ is king. That's my whoa there. You get in anti-Semitic territory again. We told you about that. Anti-Semitism, by their definition, is equity, equal rights. That's what that means. He literally told y'all. God forbid everyone gets treated the same way as Zionists get treated. It's why won't you bow down? Rules-based order. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point what rules-based order actually means, right? I think that we kind of like, I used to think for a long time that it was whatever America wanted. I was close but off, right? Was close but off. At one point, America did whatever Britain wanted, effectively. Like, that's why we got involved in World War I. And even when we finally did get involved in World War II, for those of you who don't remember, we actually were busy protecting Britain's colonies in Africa for like the entire first couple of years that the United States was involved in World War II. So we did whatever they wanted. Then after that, we did whatever Israel wanted, basically, which is why our foreign policy doesn't really see. Yeah, you can, the money, right? Everybody says follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, if you actually follow the money, you know where you end back up at. You think like, oh man, my last stop is Wall Street. No. You got to hop on a plane. And you got to make a trip to Tel Aviv if you really want to follow the money. So no, yeah, we closed a little bit. Yeah, it seems like everything was ran through America, but America was just a conduit. They were just the front company. You know, the United States, like, CEOs and businessmen, they're good at using front companies. See, the CIA, the Mossad, good at using front companies. America is the largest front company in history. And their front is for Israel. Is it not obvious? I mean, hell, how do you turn a word like how do you create this definition? Because y'all do know anti-Semitic wasn't a word until the Rothschilds made a word. You know why? Because technically, everybody here, I assume, knows this. Semitic, it does not refer to Polish Jews, Polish religious Jews who decided to move to the Middle East. Semitic people are Middle Eastern. A lot of Africans, they are Semitic people. Those are the Semites, not the Poles. But this is what they do. They take a word that applies to everybody. They make it exclusive for them. They take your power away. They take your victimhood away. They take the discrimination you're experiencing away, and they make themselves a victim. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's an abusive relationship. That's what it is, though. And now, everybody, if you don't let us do what we want to do, you're anti-Semitic. That is what that means. If you don't give us exclusivity, you are anti-Semitic. If you call us our challengers, you are anti-Semitic. If you don't let us control your government, you're anti-Semitic. You don't want AIPAC to exist. You don't want them to pay all your politicians to do our bidding. Well, that makes you anti-Semitic. You're a Jew who doesn't like Zionists? Well, you're a self-hating anti-Semitic Jew. I want y'all to think about something really quick before we get up out of here. After 9/11, and really before, because of our involvement in the Middle East, Muslims, especially Muslim women, because of the hijab and the niqab or the niqab, it's like any women who cover themselves, they were discriminated against, and to some degree are still discriminated against in the most disgusting ways. There were literally federal policies passed to stereotype them. Knowing damn, bro, what's crazy about it is like the United States knew who called, like we did all this stuff for TSA. And like, why are we doing all that? Y'all knew who the problem was. It isn't like this wasn't preventable. Like, why y'all checking under a woman's hijab, doing a random security check for a bomb when that's never happened? Never. It's based on a stereotype. When the rampant discrimination was happening, and to some degree still is, when people were being profiled and stopped by the police, when Muslims were being harassed across the world, not just United States people, across the world, where were these responses from the politicians? Where was the wall-to-wall coverage about the discrimination that these people? I remember being in debate once, right? I was in student Congress. Student Congress is kind of like regular Congress. You have a docket, and everybody gets to give a speech, and there's precedents and procedure and all that good stuff, parliamentary procedure and all that good stuff. And we want to know one of the pieces of legislation that made it to the docket. Should we be allowed to profile and stereotype Muslims for the safety of our country? And there was at least, it was one of the topics of the tournament. Literally, almost everybody in the room, 20 people, gave a speech, and a good chunk of them were arguing in favor of profiling Muslims. And it wasn't taboo to have this conversation. They profiled them because, once again, I know a lot of people think it started because of 9/11, but it didn't actually start 9/11. We were in Desert Storm happened. Kuwait, going to war with Iraq. We have been, the United States specifically, have been discriminating against Muslims since before 9/11. And then, of course, that ramped up after 9/11. And right now we have this, Israel defending itself, which is a lie, whatever. But they're saying now people are intimidating and threatening Jews, which is not happening. Once again, it's not happening on a mass scale like they say it is. Literally, she said everything's peaceful. I don't know why you're saying that. Well, but it gives off the feel because they are hiding in their dorms because of the protests. Well, yeah, if I was supporting a Zionist genocidal state, I wouldn't show my face either. I wouldn't want to be seen on camera. Maybe that's why. But either way, they're saying that these Jews don't deserve to feel discriminated against. They don't deserve to feel threatened. They don't deserve to have their peace disturbed because of the actions of a government over there. Okay. What was the energy for all the Muslims after 9/11? There was a few Saudi Arabians working for the Mossad. That's a different conversation for a different day. But there was a few Saudi Arabians working for another government that did some messed up stuff. And the US, they didn't jump to defend them. Bro, they jumped to pass policies profiling them by using stereotypes. that didn't even make any sense. What's the difference, guys? Rules-based order. And what do the rules say? Some lives are more valuable than others. White lives, in most cases, are more valuable than black and brown lives. Judeo-Christian, well, no, because technically Islam is a Judeo-Christian religion. Actually, everybody seems to forget that. But Christianity, Judaism, Catholicism, those are more dignified religions than Islam. Even though everybody named mama know the Catholic Church protects pedophiles. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. It's not, I can't even say it's the worst kept secret because it's not a secret. It's not a secret. That religion, and you got the audacity to have Christians and Catholics be like, yeah, man, Muhammad's a pedophile, like, which is probably true. I mean, there's not really a religion that doesn't have pedophiles that are celebrated. It's just a reality. But Muhammad back then, what the hell that got to do with y'all pedophile priest now? Your pope that protects pedophiles now. How is that religion more dignified? Please explain that to me. Oh, well, they force their women to cover up. Well, I mean, that's a cultural thing. You don't really get the right to say that. And also, they have Jews who do the same thing. Israeli Jews, actually, do the same thing. They cover themselves. And technically speaking, Christianity dictates that you probably should be doing the same thing. You just don't follow that because, Christians, like most people, choose which parts of the religion they want to follow. So why did the Muslims who are being discriminated against and attacked, why didn't they, and why aren't they getting the same treatment that Zionists are getting? That's what rules-based order means, people. That's what rules-based order means. It means that nobody's an exception but Zionists. And if you try to make us all equal, you're anti-Semitic. If you mess with our puppets for protecting Zionism, you're anti-Semitic. Hell, if you're a black Jew, you're anti-Semitic and we're going to sterilize you. If you're a Christian Palestinian, you're anti-Semitic, we're going to blow your church up. I mean, does it go on and on? I mean, like, it's very, 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 very clear. Some of us have, I mean, there are levels to it, but at the end of the day, if you are not a Zionist, ain't Christian Zionism, nah, y'all just the cucks. Y'all, that don't count. That don't count. Yeah, y'all think y'all protected until you're not. But I bet you Netanyahu don't got Epstein tapes because that's a different type of protection. I bet you Bing Veer don't got Epstein tapes because they in a different category than you. I bet you none of the leadership in Israel got tapes on them from Epstein because it's a different category. Because that's why they can go against their government and go against each other and go like they got their own problems. They go head to head. They don't got. It's like, yeah, man. It's like a family, right? You fight with your own family, but nobody from outside of your family can get. They can't talk about your family the same way you can talk about your family. There are levels to this. Being a Christian Zionist is not the same thing as being a Zionist, and they have no problem reminding you of that. Thank you all. Oh, hold on. Let me check really quick. Make sure we don't have no more super chats. Cobra Commander said, sorry, Niko, you are required to declare you are funded by the organization known as Cobra. Sparky, thank you for the super chat. Just speculation about Mike Johnson and the CIA. What would become known as Indian food was introduced to Southern Asia by Alexander the Great. Really? That's interesting and also not surprising. Alexander the Great is like one of my favorite stories, like just that whole situation. Especially everything that came about after Alexander the Great, like because of what happened. It also shows you what happens when you don't have a real leader to keep everything in order. Because as soon as Alexander the Great was going, it was like dissipated. Anyway. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share this video. Make sure y'all follow us on Rumble. Once again, people, I'm sorry if y'all comment on Rumble and if I don't see it here on StreamYard and I don't respond, I'm not ignoring y'all. I can't actually look at the comments while I'm streaming because Rumble's banned in Europe. Rumble is banned in Brazil. Y'all forgot. So I ain't gonna say how I access it when I gotta access it, but I access it and I can stream to it. But outside of that, I can't do anything. So my apologies for that. But I appreciate y'all watching there if y'all listening right now. Shout out to my Rockfin people also. Like the video, share the video, like the video, share the video, subscribe. If you are here, subscribe. Follow us on Hotspot. Follow us on Twitter. Hotspot, or Twitter Hotspot is a hotspot. My Twitter personally is Niko House, at real Niko House, with a K, not a C, for the love of God. You can support the show by becoming a Patreon supporter. Subscribe to us on Rockfin, all that good stuff. Cash App, all the links are in the description below. Really appreciate all support. I know people are struggling right now. Like, I really don't take it personally for those who can't describe. Because we used to have a lot of people who supported the show, but bro, times is hard, and I got a working class audience, and I respect that. So when you share, that's just as helpful. When you subscribe to other platforms as well and watch us from wherever you can watch us, diversity of viewership, it actually does help as well. Watching us from TV, like, I'm an algorithm like fiend because y'all know I've been getting censored forever, so I gotta work around it. But believe it or not, watching us from TV and then sometimes watching us from your phone, watching it from Twitter, that type of stuff actually translates. Like, it helps put us higher in the algorithm. It helps put us in other people's suggestions, because what happens is if you're watching me, for example, from TV, and your friend who has similar interests is watching from their TV and scrolling through YouTube, they'll see my channel. You get what I'm saying? So like, even that type of stuff helps. Watching from Twitter, your friends will get the Twitter suggestions when I go live. Watching from Rumble, same thing. Rockfin, same thing. So watch us wherever you can. Share us wherever you can. Follow us on Telegram if you want to get the updates when we go live, content stuff. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and put the content. I'm going to put my Telegram link in the chat as usual. Subscribe to me there. It's free, and also helps us get past this, the censorship, the inevitable censorship. We always know it's coming. Y'all get out there and spread some truth. And if you are, I challenge you guys. Unfortunately, I'm in Brazil. I can't really do anything in the US right now. However, these politicians are traitors to their nation. These protesters are heroes. You might not be able to get out into the street today. You might not be able to organize. But if you can, and if you can, get out there. Everybody should be protesting. Not just for Palestine, of course for Palestine. But you are now protesting to maintain the integrity of rule and law and constitution and your freedom of speech and your freedom of expression. Y'all do know that. Like, if they planned on protesting in Texas, they left the building and the state police, state troopers came in on horses and riot gear. They're telling you, just like they did during what my friend Jason refers to as COVID-1984, they're telling you, y'all don't actually have any rights. If you are a conservative, you should be as pissed as leftists. I don't care if you're a Zionist. You can go out there with your Zionist sign, say, I am a Zionist and I support their right to protest me. Hell, that would be actually that's how it should go, right? If people were consistent ideologically, won't happen. But that's, if you are pro free speech, if you actually are pro America, if you actually are a constitutional conservative, and if you are around the Trump trial, and you are able to go and protest, like, these people should be allowed to protest outside of court because that is their constitutional right, you should do that. That's y'all seen me. I've been at January 6th protests, like where they were trying to free people who are being held without, because I believe in the right to protest. I don't believe that our First Amendment rights should be violated. Without these rights, we don't have anything, y'all. There's nothing that we can challenge. There's nothing that we can fight. If they can just use the state police on pro-Palestinian protesters to defend a foreign nation, bro, what is going on? What are we doing? What is happening? Like old boy said on South Park, where my country gone? I know it's been bad, but it's been bad. Like we understand the history of our country. But at a certain point, you gotta stand on business. Like you gotta do something. Y'all know that's how this show was founded. That's how the MCSC network was founded. Everybody got out and did something, whether it was protesting, whether it was breaking election integrity news, whether it was exposing politicians that they face. Like you gotta get out and do something, bro. Something. I know everybody has, like I said, and everybody has a role. Maybe it isn't the protest, but you know what your role is. You know what you're capable of. But don't let this type of shit slide, bro. And y'all make sure that y'all taking care of each other at these protests too. Hey, look, man, if you got to bump a cop to help somebody get away, just hit one of those. Just a little hip check, help your boy get away. Hey, do what you gotta do, man. Take care of each other. We all we got, bro, because these politicians basically don't give a damn about us. All right. So like this video, share this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other clips that we posted within the last couple of days. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.